Hey devs, welcome to Tech Nomad. Today we are going to be learning coding with Python and we are going to be starting from basics. So let's get started without wasting any time and jump into knowing and exploring Python. Hello everyone. Today we are going to be talking about Python. Well, Python is the hottest programming language in today's century and we're gonna be doing Python from scratch and basics. So if you do not have any knowledge of coding, then this tutorial is the best for you. And if you already know some basic programming, then it's even better. So hop in and follow along. And also, don't forget to pick up your laptop and code with me as we learn Python in this video tutorial. Python was named after Monty Python, and as you can see in the picture, and it was developed by Guido van Rossum in the early 90s. The best feature is that it's available everywhere, including Linux, Windows, Mac, and you can even download it since it's open source language and even you can contribute to it. So what exactly is Python? Well, Python is a language which is used for web development. It can be even used for mathematics with the packages called as SymPy, and you can even do system scripting, which means that you can automate your tasks, you can even read files, you can even write files, and also definitely Python is mostly for software development as it is the runs in the core of a system. Now, the next question you might ask, why Python? Well, Python is very popular nowadays. Most of it is known for its usage in machine learning and data science. And also, Python is in quite high demand for jobs. But other than that, why is it so popular? You might ask. Well, it allows devs to write programs in fewer lines, and it has a powerful compiler interpreter so that it can run large programs and even dynamic programs easily with ease. Python has been named the most popular programming language as per the survey conducted by Statista. And the next comes Java, and then furthermore JavaScript, C Sharp. Python has been tend to be popular with over 25.95% of the users, and Java with approximately 21.42%. Now the next question you might ask, why not Java? What's the issue between Java?
Wait a minute.
And how do they compare? Well, Java is equally a powerful programming language, but if you compare between Python and Java, Python is generally more preferred between the developers because Python has lesser lines of code than Java. And furthermore, its syntax is as easy as remembering a English language. Whereas in Java, you need to remember the exact syntax with a semicolon and even the curly braces. Although the speed of Python is slower because of the interpreter, but Java is faster. And other than that, you can even use it for dynamic typing and rapid deployment. Whereas Java, you need to have a self robust memory management system and is platform independent. And in the database section, Python has a lot of database, but it's weaker than that of Java's. But if you are a beginner, then definitely you can start learning Python, and maybe later on you can also explore Java as well. So in this tutorial, we are going to start with setting up and running Python in our machines. So let's get started. To get started installing Python on a local system, just go to this link python.org, and there you will see a bunch of sections where you can download Python. So to download the Python, you can use the latest 3.9.5 as you can see and then click on it. After that, You go down below. There are a lot of options for example, if you have a Mac system, then you can install installer over here, or if you have Windows 32-bit or 64-bit, then you can install it. So to download a Python, need to click on Windows installer. So mine is 64-bit system, so I'm gonna go click on it, and this is gonna start downloading. It's gonna take approximately a minute to download, depending on your connection speed. Well, mine is a little slower, so let's skip to this next part where we try to install Python after downloading. So once this Python file gets downloaded, you can click on it or you can open it. And don't forget to click on this option where add Python 3.9 to path. If you do not click on this, then you won't be able to run Python from your system. And sometimes it might cause issues where you have, and then you have to manually add Python to the path. So make sure that you click on this option add 3.9 of the path and then click on install now. So you click on yes. So mine is already installed, so I won't install it further. So once you're done with installation, you will be able to run Python on your system directly. There is another way in which you can run Python on the cloud-based servers without installing on your local system. So, so go to Google Colab and then we are gonna code mostly in our Python in our Google Colab. So let's create a new notebook over here. And in the further tutorials, we might be using the local machine, but for demo and tutorial purpose and for basic Python programs, we can run it on Google Colab. And so you can first set the name of the file, so such as uh, Python for intro, and then you click on connect so that you can allocate cloud servers or instance. Google Colab can be used for many purposes to run machine learning programs and even Python programs and many more. So once this shows green tick means that your system is ready to run the programs that you want or the scripts that you want. So let's get started to our first program in Python. Writing Python programs is very easy. So for example, if you want to print anything, so you just have to write print and then open quotes, write hello world, and then click on the run button. So hello is printed and it's simple as anything. You just have to write print and then whatever you want to print gets printed after the curly braces. So it's pretty simple. Whatever you want gets printed easily and all you have to write is print, and it's as simple as the English language, and thereby Python is known as one of the simplest language and one of the hottest language, as you all know, since Python is being used in everywhere. So then you click on arrow button or run button and thus it gets printed. So you can even print you can hello world. So congratulations, now hello world program is being printed, and thus you wrote your first program in Python, hello world program, which is also known as. So after that, let's say let's write some more programs in Python. So let's say after writing the hello world, you have suppose a very large program, and you want other person to understand what you have written. So for that, comments come into rescue. Comments are basically used to explain a Python code, and can also be used to make code more readable. So for example, you write print I, and then you write print I am Robert, for example. So to make the program more readable, you can add comments in this format by using hash. So by using hash, you can write anything. For example, first line of print. So comments do not participate in a Python program, and it is just for readability purposes. And then you write second line of print. So these are the two comments we added to the program, and as you can see, once we run it, these are not involved in the code, and thus these are called comments. So to create a comment, you can add hash and then write any text you want to specify. Let's move on further with writing our first mathematical syntaxes in Python. So mathematical syntaxes are basically uh, a way in which you can write equations, or you can do enormous calculations, or you can even use other mathematical packages which is known as SymPy for your research purposes or even your projects. So let's write a simple addition program in Python. So to write an additional program in Python, you need to first declare variables. So what are variables? So variables are like memory allocation to data. For example, if you write x equals to 5, so this means that the number 5 has been allocated some space in the memory, and it is known as x. Similarly, you can also write y equals to 11. So here y is another memory allocation, and it is assigned with 11. So to print x plus y, you can write z equals to x plus y. So we are storing the value of x and y in z, and thus we are storing the value of x plus y in z, and then we are printing z by using a simple print statement. And there you go. You have your first addition program in Python. So it's very simple in Python, as you can see. And furthermore, so there are a lot of data types in Python. So I'll give some examples. So for example, let's say we assign a variable name as x, and we give it as 1, and then we can write y equals to 1.3. Then you can write z equals to maybe a string, maybe suppose round, and maybe for example, you can write a equals to true, right? So now let's say we have variable data types. So what are data types? Data types are basically a way in which Python understands that how and what different types and things it can store. So there can be various data types. So it can be text type, which is a string, like over here. It can be numeric type, like float or double, an integer, and there can be also Boolean type and binary types and so on. So there are a lot of data types in Python that you can use. So the usage of this data type string is for storing any text-based data format, and then for Boolean is basically for true and false based data format, and float or double means for storing decimal based data format, and integer means storing integer based. So now to check these data types, we can even do print type of x, and then let's copy this. Hmm. All right. So with type is basically a function in which you can uh, know which type of data is it, and thus can also give a, and then you can run it. So as you can see, x is determined as integer over here, it's printed over here, and then y as float, and z as string, and a as boolean. All right. So that are the types of data in Python. So these are the basic type of data that we generally tend to use, but there are a lot of more data types, and you can even look in the or have a the official Python website to see the type of data and what can be used. So let's move on to the next topics called as casting. So for example, you have a data type called as for example x z or x equals to 1 and maybe y equals to 9.99. Now suppose you want to add these two numbers. Now you might ask that this is integer and this is double. So in the other programming languages, adding two different data types can cause an issue, but not in Python. But still, if you want, then you can convert this integer to a float based data type. To do that, you can do maybe x z, let's say z equals to, and you can do float of, and then in the first bracket you pass x, oops, and then you can add the numbers directly instead of taking extra memory management and for saving space. So you can do this directly y plus z instead of assigning another variable, and then you can run it directly. And there you go. You have y plus z as given. And to check the type, you can also do type of y plus z and thus. So now the two numbers has been converted to float after addition, and we have it as float. So this is known as casting. So casting is a method to convert one data type into another data type. Then we have, then we are going to be talking about strings. So string are basically a Python text where you can store a text based data or any character or char based data. So for example, to store the text based data, as you saw previously, we can do a variable name and then equals to, we are assigning this s variable with for example Tommy, and then to print it we can just directly print s, sorry, and then so Tommy is being printed. Let's say we have a long argument, so you can even modify Tommy is a good boy. So you can add multiple arguments and multiple line text in within the single quotes, and it will treat as a string data as one, and it will be stored as s. So as you can see, if you print s, Tommy is a good boy is being printed. All right. So that's how you print and input a string. And furthermore, uh, for example, let's say if you want to take a user input, and to do that, you can take input from user as number, or you can take input as string or float. So to take a user input, you can do in, maybe I equals to input, and then in the circle you want to open the first brackets. In the quotes you want to ask the user for prompt like enter a word, and then you can print the word like I, and therefore you can run it, and then it will ask for me to enter a word. For example, I can enter hello. And so hello is being printed over here, as you can see with print type. Furthermore, you can even have multiple inputs, like for example, enter a word, then you can even enter a number. For example, j equals to input, enter a, a number. So by default, a input in Python is generally taken as string. So you need to always typecast it for any operation. For example, as you can see, print. So we can print j, and to print even the number is taken as a type string. You can do print and then type of j, and then you can print it. It will ask to enter a word. Let's say what's up, and then you can ask enter number. Maybe let's say 100,000, whatever. And then there you go. WhatsApp and 1000 is being printed, and this 1000 is called class string. So now you can even typecast it before making it or doing any addition in this format, like we did over here by typecasting to our desired data type. So you can typecast it to, for example, integer. Let's say we typecast it to integer, and let's see what happens over here. How are you? Enter number, maybe 99. And there you go. Now you have a class integer as input and output. So the string you input has been converted to integer, and you can even use it for other type of operations. So these are the basic Python syntaxes, and you can use these basic Python syntaxes for maybe calculation, or maybe inputting a number, or maybe adding two numbers, and so on. In the next tutorial, we're going to be talking about how to use strings, and therefore can how strings can be used for various purposes, by slicing of strings, by concatenation, how we can modify the strings. And furthermore, we will go to other type of data types like lists, tuples, and dictionaries. So stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe Tech Nomad, and we'll see you in next video.